March is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and today we're getting the story of a survivor. Warren Fick is joining us now. Warren, take us back and walk us through that story of yours.
Yeah, so like a lot of people during the pandemic, I didn't do much just by way of, medical um, physicals or anything like that. I kind of just steered clear of that stuff. I'm lucky. My wife is a nurse practitioner, so she was kind of harping on me last summer about, hey, you need to get in and get a physical done, get some blood work done as far as checking your cholesterol and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, by the way, you're 45, you need to have a colonoscopy. And I probably asked her why. And she said, it used to be always 50 was kind of the going rate for when you needed to start to have those. But we've been seeing some, younger people get it. So they've dropped that age down to 45. So you need to get that done. So I said, okay, sure, let's get it done. I know my parents had both had colonoscopies, throughout their lives, and I had no family history, nothing like that, no symptoms by no means. But went in, got my colonoscopy scheduled in early October, and went in, had it done. I remember the doctor coming in as I, was coming out of sedation. My wife was in the room with me, and he came in and threw some pictures up on the screen and basically showed us a 3.5 centimeter polyp, which is pretty big, too big. And he's like, I removed this. He goes, I cut as much of it out as I possibly could without, fear of perforating your colon. But they normally don't get this big unless you've got a problem. But we're going to send this in for biopsy. And we'll when we get the lab results, we'll get a hold of you. So that was on a Tuesday, and by Saturday morning he was calling me, and he's like, "Hey, I got some bad news. This is stage 1 cancer. The good news is it is stage 1, so we caught it plenty early. But just to be safe, we're probably going to have to go back in, remove a small section of your colon just to make sure there is no cancer in there. So." Yeah, that was, I think I had surgery on the 26th of October. So a couple of weeks later, they removed 9 inches. And luckily, when they got the biopsies back from that section of the colon, and they also took biopsies from lymph nodes and stuff, I didn't have any cancer anywhere else. So it was all confined to that one polyp. But they got it cleaned out, and about 3.5 days in the hospital, got home, another week off of work, being a little sore, but I got used to getting up, walking around, and eventually that worked that out. And right now I've got a clean prognosis. As long as I'll probably have to get another colonoscopy here in about a year or so, just to make sure everything's clean. And then after that, if that's clean, every 3 years. But normal person, if they go in and they're clean, they say every 5 to 10 years you should have it done. But like I kind of been telling people, in my line of work, I sell, equipment parts, tractor parts, agricultural stuff to farmers and ranchers and stuff. And I always harp on them about preventative maintenance for their equipment. And just because they put their combine away at the end of harvest the year before and it was working fine doesn't mean it's going to work perfect for you the next year. So let's take a look at it and make sure everything's good to go before harvest comes next year. And our bodies are no different. If we just let stuff slide, eventually something's going to go wrong. So this is just a colonoscopy, or any sort of colon screening is an easy way to get in there and take a look at it and make sure everything's good. And if everything's good, you're great. And if not, hopefully you catch something early like you did with me, and you get on with your life. I was lucky. I didn't have to do any radiation. I didn't have to do any chemotherapy. But if I'd have had waited till 50, like the old norm was, odds are I would be in big trouble. My prognosis would have been much, much worse. So,
Warren, you have mentioned a few times you live and work in rural Nebraska, and rural Nebraskans are just tough, gritty people. And I think it's safe to say a lot of times they avoid going to the doctor if at all possible. But your story would have been a lot different if you didn't do that and if you didn't have your wife who was in the medical industry doing that. What's your advice to those people? You talked a little bit about that maintenance, but what's the importance of taking care of your body?
yeah. I think a lot of people, especially in the rural areas that we live and grow in here in Nebraska, they have the mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So but unfortunately, that's not reality. Because like I said, I had no symptoms. I had cancer growing inside me and had no idea. Matter of fact, if I hadn't had a colonoscopy back in early October, I'd still be here with cancer inside me and probably still wouldn't know it. But at some point, I'm going to start showing signs of it, and by then it might be too late, where I will have to do chemotherapy, or I will have to do some radiation, or have more of my colon removed. So I've just tried to been telling people, people that have asked me about it. I say, hey, if you haven't had a colonoscopy, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, you got to take one day off. They'll sedate you. You don't feel anything. There's no pain involved. The worst part about it is you don't get to eat anything the day before. But in my case, I got to lose a few pounds, so that's probably a plus sign. But the biggest thing is yeah, just getting it done. So that way you have the peace of mind knowing that you are healthy. But yeah, just putting stuff off like that, any of these screenings, blood work, stuff like that. Like I said, I've got high cholesterol, so I got to keep a watch on that. But again, in my line of work, it's the same thing goes with the guys' farm equipment, tractors, combines, sprayers. If you just run it year after year, month after month, and never change the oil and do stuff like that, or look for problems, the problems are going to find you. And it's the same thing with our health.
Wow, so well said. I love that. Warren, as we round out this conversation, what else is important to mention that you haven't had a chance to talk about?
No, I think it's just important to, like I said, take care of yourselves. If not for yourself, do it for your family, for your friends. Like I said, I've got a wife. We've got a beautiful 15-year-old daughter who, she's a freshman now, and so yeah, I want to make sure that I'm there for them, and for the long haul. You know what I mean? So. And it's not about just length of life, it's about quality of life, right? So going through stuff like chemotherapy and radiation, and it's hard on your body. It's so if you can get in and get things looked at and make sure you're healthy, or if there is something wrong, as far as like colon cancer is concerned, they get it out early. Yeah, I had a couple of weeks where I was pretty sore, but after the surgery, but 4 or 5 weeks after that, I was pretty much back to normal, doing normal things. So, and now, yeah, you'd never, other than a little scar on my stomach, you wouldn't know that I have been through anything. So,
That's so cool. All right. An inspiring story indeed. Warren, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate
you
it.
bet. Thank you very much.